Hello there, and welcome to the last episode of the television program called The Future. No, I can hear your squeals of dismay now. Don't worry. Information may decay, but it never entirely disappears. So we'll probably be on forever in repeats. Let's see what's bubbling in the post-production laboratories today to find out what's on the show tonight. Hey, Ellie, what's happening?
Dan, we're just finishing the item for the last show, for show 12. We thought since the future has been about artists as visionaries, the blending of art and technology, we wanted to find out where our future visionaries are learning everything and who's teaching them.
Okay, hey, Pat?
Well, yeah, we went to art center in a high school. We went to Ontario College of Art, and we watched the way that they're blending the technology into the curriculum of the courses, and seeing if the teachers are able to keep up with the students.
That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah.
And this guy?
This is Julian, our editor.
Go away.
All right. Stand by for the future.
When we're training visual artists here, I'm beginning to think in some respects that as we visit the world of multimedia, as we're gradually getting in, we're putting our toes in the water, we're thinking about how we're going to use all this new software and all this new programming, we're perhaps creating great architects of the future. When a student comes to Wexford Collegiate Arts Centre, they're not your average student. A lot of the time, they've probably been drawing since they were very small. Probably drew every day. They come here with drawing ability that is over and above what you would find in any average individual. So we consider them to be a profile that we wouldn't find in other students. People tend to look at the arts as sort of stereotypical, people who are sort of crazy and off the wall and can't arrange their financial affairs or the way they run their life. However, we rely on these artists to be creative and come up with the ideas in life that make art a mirror of society. So really artists can't be as crazy, can they, as they're made out to be, and they're not. They have this very special ability to see the world and the universe and ideas in ways that other people don't.
The new media program at OCA places a really strong emphasis on placing work, student work, and other work in new media in its social and political and cultural context. When I say student work, it's the other strong basis of the program is that a great deal of the curriculum is devoted to developing the student's own practice and the student's own direction.
You remember being in school, if you couldn't do your math, you were made to do math after school every day. If you went to art class and you couldn't draw an apple, it's very unlikely that you had to go back and draw apples after school every day until you could draw them. So we tend to take students who have this very special profile, which often includes either a lack of interest or lack of ability in other areas that might be English or mathematics or science. Because they're very talented at art, they often have to pay for it in other ways, in other areas.
Usually sculpture is just a little bit of the mainstream art courses. Here I'm just teaching sculpture, and this course has been designed just for them. The students here are very talented, and often when you present an idea, it goes off in as many different directions as there are students in the class.
Okay, this is my mine, and I don't know, I didn't really think of like what it was going to be. I didn't even know what it was going to be actually, but I just put it together, and I don't know, that's about it.
The type of people that we get here tend to be crazies. You know, they're the people that just don't fit in anywhere else and enjoy the fact that they have the freedom to just play and experiment and try out different things. That's perfectly okay. The main thing is the technology provides a kind of playground, mental gymnasium in which we can try out different ideas.
New media allowed me to move around, do my work, and do anything that I really wanted to do, work on. It was an open field. It wasn't something like I was limited to using a canvas to paint.
Education is a very interesting field when it comes to these multimedia things that we're getting into. I think it would be possible to take a school the size of this and fill it full of memory banks and create a situation where you have every bit of information that mankind has ever known, all in this one school stored in memory banks. Now, when you combine that with multimedia and you say to yourself, what happens in education? Perhaps teachers are going to become information providers. We're going to be facilitators.
I think the best way you can teach people art, if that's possible, and I don't think it is, if the instructors just act more as a resource person. That's one thing we try to do at OCA in general. We let the students come up with the ideas and we steer them towards similar things that have happened in art history that they may not be aware of, or we provide them with the technical knowledge and skills to produce what it is that they want to make.
Practicing artists are the instructors here. People who have very well-established careers, and they're able to share with their students then a direction and a kind of holistic approach to making work because they've been through the process.
Drawing is something that I do every day. I don't draw naked people, and I don't draw flowers, and I don't draw plants, but I draw things like my robot parts or my art parts all the time. I think drawing, learning to express yourself through any media is essential. I think one of the most difficult things to do as an instructor is to get people to actually start building something, get their hands dirty, to drill the first hole or apply the first paint stroke on the canvas or whatever the heck it is.
Some of the most interesting and successful animals are those that lived under rocks, you know, or lived in the cracks and crevices of a tidal pool. And to me, to seek out the cracks and crevices of a society and to thrive in those cracks and crevices is really a very interesting and very exciting lifestyle. And so what I try to do personally as a teacher is to encourage that variety of expression that simulates a very complex and various tidal pool.
They come here, they want to be here, and what that does is that makes our job not a job. I mean, it's great to come into work, to learn. I learn from the students more often than the other way around. We're not crowd control here. We're not policemen here. We're teachers here.
I don't think you need art in high school. And if it is taught, that's not true. I think you need it, but I think it should be taught a lot better. I think art in high school lacks a lot. I think it's really easy. They don't expose students to enough.
I found that when I came to the college that the teachers were not necessarily teachers. I found that they're more technicians who knew the technical side of the machinery, you know, how to operate them, ins and outs of them. And then there were also artists from the community who came in to help and teach students.
Now, the problem with being a teacher is you have to keep adjusting what you teach in the classroom because the world changes every day. Your world changes every day. Mine changes every day. The years fly by and stuff changes. Should we stop doing standard photography now? Should we stop doing oil painting? All these questions come up if you're actually teaching people or relying on your knowledge to provide them a future. It's very hard to decide. What we can decide, I think, is this. Underlying all these artistic structures are some fundamentals. So every student has to know these fundamentals.
Now, even though calligraphy's been around 500 years, it's still a fundamental point in learning how to arrange type and layout, so that good letter spacing, word spacing, border spacing, everything good, so that when they do use a computer, they'll have a really good sense of design and layout.
What I love about the new media department the most is that we don't have a clear-cut formula by which we work. We don't have a clear-cut curriculum.
Every student can take an individual approach. While there is a structure that students have to follow, but they still can experiment, and as a result, the work I see here is a lot more diverse than other student works from other schools.
It's a very good experience for students to have to sit in front of a video camera, even though it's in front of their own friends that they've worked with for a couple of months, and talk about their feelings about art and what their art's about.
This is my sculpture, which I have affectionately titled, Reach Out and Shoot Someone. There used to be soldiers standing around here with guns and stuff, but, well, they're missing in action and presumed dead right now.
This is the personal meaning I'm trying to say. I don't know. I have a way about my artwork. It falls into the categories of life, death, birth, and human emotions, and somehow it comes into my artwork.
When we're teaching fundamentals, we're emphasizing color harmonies, color contrasts, how these things fit into a color wheel, how you mix color, what are the basics of color, what are the primary colors or secondary colors, what are the values, how do you put all these things together, what is chromatic graying. If you don't know all those things, when you sit down at the computer, you're just saying, well, I'd like this red or I'd like this green, with no concept of how this thing can be turned into a fine design.
This is a typical commercial assignment where we're doing page layout arrangements, and after I've taught it, the students are given a choice of medias to work with. They can use the traditional medias as this one, just pencils and markers, or they can use pencil crayons if they wish to put it in color. But the other thing we teach them is how to use the computer.
We like to build the confidence of every student, and if we can introduce them to a program and get them started, they'll find out the rest of the stuff. They'll jump into the swim and they'll go crazy with all these other programs that are available.
Through different programs, you can mix up color spectrums and different things like that, different color combinations. Painting, it's strictly, you know, you have your tubes of paint, you have to squeeze them out, you look at them, you mix them, you take your chances. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So that's the main difference for me.
New media, I think now, is a term which is commonly understood to describe work which is either interactive or work which combines a number of different media together, and it can combine them physically or combine them via a digital domain, as they say.
When you go to any classroom that has a computer in it, I think you'd have to say that the teacher is still responsible for developing all those fundamentals. If you go to the life drawing room, you're still going to be drawing from live models. You're still going to be drawing from dead skeletons. You're still going to be drawing from anatomy charts. You're still going to be studying lines, volumes, gesture drawings, textural work, different media. You're still going to be studying all those things before you ever thought of going to a computer to draw a figure. And at least for figure drawing, you'd probably never go to the computer to draw a figure, but you can never say never with a computer.
What we try to do in the art college is think of uses of computers that nobody has even dreamt of yet. Instead of going with a standard word processing, graphics, spreadsheet type of mentality, we try to write programs, devise input-out devices that completely shift the nature of what a computer is, or the way you think about it.
Well, I always thought, you know, when I was younger, computers were for business, or, you know, some people use computers to make pictures, but it wasn't, you know, a standard art sort of idea. So when I came here and I saw people ripping apart computers and inserting this and inserting that, it was like, well, what are you doing, you know? And it was, well, this is a course. We teach you how to use computers in revolutionary little idea ways, using computers to control art stuff and things like that. And it's like, well, that's really weird.
I think technology and art are totally inseparable. They always have been. When people first learned that you could chew berries and spit the spray out on their hands on the wall of a cave, that was certainly a technology. Painting has always been driven by technology, changes in lead-based paints and acrylics and oils. All these things made new and different types of art possible.
Students are still hesitant because they think it's something mathematical. Once they get into it, they find, this is a new tool. This is an artist tool now. This is like having a new set of oil paints or a new set of acrylics or a new set of watercolors.
I think it just makes the work a lot colder, whereas this has sort of the human touch, an emotional response. You have elements of mistake or perfection, right? And it's an easy way of channeling it, whereas I think when you're using, say, computer-generated graphics, right? You can sort of hide within the technology of it. By pressing buttons and things, you can program a drawn figure or a drawn line or a structure. When you're dealing with oil paint, a million different things can go wrong.
Once one gets past the basic training of how to use a computer and how to use your eye, you know, it's just like canvas, it's just like painting.
Most of the drawings and paintings that you see on computers, if they don't move, would be much better done with pencil crayons. You get a lot more control, you can do better shading, you can do better whatever you want. You get a higher resolution with a pencil crayon than you do with a computer. If it's animation and it's moving, that's a completely different story. But I don't know why anyone would bother drawing or painting a still picture on a computer.
The whole situation is rather absurd in my estimation. If I wanted palettes and brushes, I'd go and get a palette and brush. Why recreate it on the screen? I'm very much turned off by this whole thing of user-friendliness, which to me becomes a bugle call to mindlessness in a way.
The technical knowledge of the computer is very important, but I would say that the main skill is artistic skill, because there's always technicians who can help you during the process.
We try to look not only at the broad range of work that's being done in new media and the broad range of artists who are attempting to address issues around art and technology or technology's impact on culture, but we also try to look at the relationship between the artist and the community and how various kinds of technologies, broadcast or narrowcast technologies, for instance, can be links between artist and community.
This is a three-dimensional modeling and animation programs that we use in the new media department, and you can create simple geometric shapes or more complex model and then animate them over a certain amount of time. And I animated a person with very simple shapes and made a story with it, and I used live action and edited the whole thing together to create this project.
It's not just end products that are being marked, particularly with some of these larger sculptures, but what they've learned along the way, how they interact with others. I'm not just marking the finished piece of work.
It's not fair at all, I don't think, to try and judge students' work on aesthetics. I change my mind about what I think is good art all the time. Attendance is important. Getting a project done is important. And participation in class is important.
I tell them they have to work, work hard, and they have to produce lots.
Students have listened well, and they've applied all the things that I'm trying to teach properly. when I mark, I can mark very objectively. There's nothing subjective about it at all.
The marking business is, I haven't really found a solution to that yet.
I'm usually looking for a good concept to start with. Secondly, a good design that's putting all the elements together, the textures, the colors, the panels. And then I'm looking for good execution. So whatever medium they're using, as long as they use it really well and professionally, then that's what I grade them on.
Oh, okay. I thought of something. OCA does give a diploma, but the diploma is not nearly so interesting as the stuff that is in the heads of our graduating students.
The teacher has to deal with this new technology in a different way, because that's what's being done in industry.
Sculpture is becoming quite a big aspect of the advertising industry. It used to be everything seemed to be two-dimensional images, but now there's a lot of 3D. A lot of our students are going to go into the arts, they're going to go into the arts commercially. They need some background in the computer technology and sculpture, as well as grappling with the traditional materials and the junk materials.
They write their own job descriptions, and they fit into a situation which is not a formula situation, but one that they've more or less written for themselves.
We're not under the illusion that students from this program are going out to make artworks that are going to be bought by sophisticated consumers. That kind of art market doesn't really exist in Canada. And for the most part, artists in Canada, new media artists and all artists, are have to be activist about their engagement with the public. I really see art itself as a technology. Art itself is a mechanism, is a tool for exploration. And I don't think, in fact, that there's really anything different that's going on with today's artists than has ever gone on with artists. Artists are always pushing the boundaries of what it is that they can accomplish with the tools they've been given, or the tools that they can build for themselves.
Computers are no longer technologically exiling people away from them. You know, they're very easy to use now. They're very simple. The boundaries have been broken down from that, so anyone can use them. So artists have now taken up that and said, oh, you know, I'm not scared of this machine anymore. It's not a box that you can't understand. It's something that I can use.
The architecture of the future is something that won't necessarily have physical substance, but it'll be a very creative process, and those people who are thinking about these things, not just as technologists and inventing the software and the machinery that does it, but those people who sit and think, creative artists who are thinking about where are we going and how does this relate to human existence. Those are the people who are going to try and work out what kind of space we should be existing in when we're existing in a digital, electronic space.